Hey guys, welcome back to my show. Okay, it's time to get to these face frames. And I told you we're going to do these out of some tiger maple, and we are. And the reason I chose tiger maple is that, well, it's a little different. A lot of your figured woods are. Tiger maple, bird's eye, particularly the maple, quilted maple. You know, there's a thing called a book match. And a book match means where you split a piece of wood and you open it up like a book and you get a mirror image. Sometimes you can do that with tiger maple. Most of the time you can't. Now, there's a reason. And it kind of depends upon how high a figure you got. And we got a lot of figure here. Here's what happens. Tiger maple has a property about it, as do most of the figured maples. Sometimes your mahoganies, all of the woods, you've got to be careful with this. The term is called chatoyance, C-H-A something. And it's a French word, and it has to do with the way an opal ring and a tiger eye ring, you can move it, and it has that holographic effect. I've often described it as, you know, when you go to the carnival or to the fair and you win one of them little keychains, and you know, you look at it this way and it's an old granny with her walking cane, and you put it down this way and, well, it's not. You get the point. Exactly what it amounts to. And sometimes you will look at tiger maple one way and you'll see the curl real pretty. You go the other way and it flip-flops. Just like a hologram. It flip-flops. So you have to be careful. So to have you understand that, what we've got here is a small tiger maple log set. And it's a very, very nice one. Now, the reason I picked the log set is that I've got all one tree. These two boards are actually out of the same tree, but further down below, but that's another story. Anyway, and the way I've got it laid out is that this board that I'm using right here came right off the top of this board. Now, rather than book match the tiger maple, we want to do what's called a slip match. Meaning, instead of opening it up like this, what we want to do is do it like this. We want to keep the same face forward. If we don't, then we can start getting that holographic effect. But as we go, we want to make sure we got it right. You know, I've seen guys do book match, tiger maple book match panels, and you're standing looking at this, and this side is just absolutely gorgeous, particularly if you're looking at it on a little side angle. And you come over here, and then you're standing at the same angle, and the figure in the right one just totally disappears. You go the other way, and it reverses. What should have happened was if they would have done that slip match, the figure would have appeared equal or the same no matter how you viewed it. Now, the other thing I'm doing is I'm kind of pushing the envelope here, because the other thing we're going to do, in this corner cabinet, we've got our outside face, which is 4.5 inches. Then we've got a 2 1/4 inch front piece. Then we've got a 2 1/4 inch door frame. So we got 4.5 and 4.5, we got 9 inches. Well, this log, just like I showed you in some of the previous shows, this log is live sawn, meaning that it's just sliced. Just like you lay a cucumber down and slice it up. So what I'm doing, you can see right here, I've got my little face picture drawn, and I've got my I've drawn out right here on this one. I think I'm able to get 10 inches out of it, and that's pushing it because if I get any, I know you've run a board across a table saw and have that board go across, and as it comes out, you see it do this, or it sees it try to pinch. I get much movement in this. When I saw this wide board, I'm going to be in trouble. Because what I'm after is I want to get the side panel, the little front panel, and the door side all out of one board. I want the side, the front, and the door to all be one piece of wood. I think that's cool. That looks nice. So that's what I'm going for. Now I've got some extra log here that I can deal with if I need to, in case I can't get it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just simply going to whack this off. Now I'm cutting this stuff at about 81 inches just to give me plenty of room to work with. This log is also pretty clear and white. And what will be my face frame, I've tried to work around it, but this board and that board is the only two I got that I can get the width I need. And I got a little sap pocket in this right here, see? But we'll deal with him. Now all I've done is skim planed this. I've skim planed it, and I'm right at, this was a 4/4 set, and I mean skimmed, but I'm right at about 15/16. I'd like to end up at 7/8, but I might wind up by the time I sand it 13/16. But so what? In any case, you know, all it's going to do is affect the thickness of my face frame a little bit. Not going to be a major critical thing. So don't let that upset you. And if I wound up at 3/4, wouldn't be a big deal either. Worked just fine. All right, so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take my jigsaw and I'm going to cut the bottom off, and I'm going to cut it at 81 inches. And then I'm going to take my straight edge. I've got me a big long straight edge set up. And using the jig we used a couple weeks ago to do our straight lining, I'm going to straight line this piece of maple. Get me one side straight, and then I'm going to get it worked down to size. As soon as I do that, we'll come back and start looking at making some frames. All right, guys, what I've done is I've got my two pieces straight lined. It's going to make up our, like I told you, it's going to make up our sides. And hopefully the side of each one of the drawers, all the drawers. Then I ripped some material because I need material for the crown. And I need material to make that will go across the piece. You know, for the top, we've got the piece that's got to go across the top. We've got the piece that goes under the door. Then we've got our piece that our drawer is going to fit in, and our very bottom piece. And we got to make, you know, our base and the crown. So I've ripped enough material, straight lined enough, I think, to get all that. Actually, I'm pretty sure I have. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back, and this material is really nice. It's, you know, pretty nice and flat as it is. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to run it through the sander and get it dimensioned to 7/8. And I think I'm going to come out just fine at that. And but like I told you, you know, if it was 3/4, 13/16, whatever, it'd be just fine. So when we come back, I'm going to have all this ready to go. That's some pretty stuff. All right, guys, I'm actually processed up through 150. Now, I know I'm not supposed to be doing anything about tools in this, but I want to tell you something. I've been getting my abrasives for my drum sanders from Industrial Abrasives. I think it's industrialabrasives.com. And I've been getting them from them for a couple months. And this is the first time I've processed Tiger Maple, and I actually took it up to 150, going pretty hard. And I didn't get a bunch of burns. That rarely do I get to take Tiger Maple past 120 without it burning in the drum sander. And especially when you get a little mineral streak like that, and that sander hits it, it'll burn in a skinny minute. Now, I'm going to mention this because this video will be around for a while. Go to my October, November newsletter of 2009, and there's a write-up on this. But it didn't burn. I don't know why. And guess what? I don't care why. It didn't burn. That was pretty cool. Now, we got some nice maple here, but indicative of Tiger Maple, many times you'll see a nice wide board and the figure will dissipate in the center, and there's usually always one side that it's a little heavier, the curl is heavier than the other. And then we talked about that chatoyance thing, or that holographic effect. I want to be sure. So I sanded this right at 15/16. So I'm still heavy. But at this point, I want to start figuring everything out, making sure I've got the right faces where they are, everything laid out where I want it to be, so that I can bring all this together in as nice a match as I can. So what I've got some General Finishes light walnut dye. It's water-based. And all I'm doing is I'm going to lather this thing down with the dye. Now, Crystal, just in a minute, I'm going to try to show them this holographic effect, and I hope we can get it on camera. Now y'all know why my bench, me, and usually everything else is all covered in stains and dyes. Crystal, I want you just to swing around the arch. Now guys, I want you to pick out a spot and focus on it. Come this way. I hope you can see it. Figure has a completely different look from one angle to the other. Now here's the other thing. Okay. If you look at this, Now see, I just stood this up, and now this side is very dominant, and this side just went, I don't really see the curl here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to stand it over here at the corner cupboard. And I'm going to do the mate. Because I want to know what this thing's going to look like before I commit to cutting this stuff up. You know, if this was a piece of cherry, oak, walnut, wouldn't have this issue. And sometimes the higher the figure and the deeper the curl is, the more you get it. Now, if you can see, yep, that's not working. I don't know if you can see this on camera. Do you see how much less curl you have here than you do here? Now I flipped that board, now you can see the curl. Is this one? No, I don't have it. I can't reverse this one. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. You see, one of the things with this is, even though we've got these angles on this corner, and we want decent figure there, I want the dominant figure right dead in the front. Because this would be the side of the cabinet, and this would be my door. But I got to get the curl kicking out. And that other board's got some defects in it, a few on the back. So I'm going to have to go, this one doesn't, this one's good both sides. So I'm going to see if I can get what I can get. I've got this die pretty thin. I should have gone a little stronger. Nope. See, you can tell this is a book match. See this little area right here with the little wild figure, and right here? But I know I'm not going to get this to book, hard as I try. And that's wild. Okay. I'm going to play with this a minute. That might be the way it's going to have to It's still book matched, but it's end for end. Nope. See, I can't turn this one out. See, I got an ugly spot here, here, and here. Keep wanting to come back to this. Maybe. Nope. I wish you could be here holding this in your hand, flipping it. I don't know how much you're picking up on camera. But guys, it's just like day and night. I don't know if I can show. Let me see if it shows, Crystal. Watch this side right here. Did you get that? That's what I'm dealing with here. And I'm trying to teach you how to deal with it. Sometimes there's no real good easy way. All right. That don't look bad. Right there. All right, let me. Now, don't worry about this dye going on here. This is a good thing. Because those of you guys who watch my finishing and whatever, you know about trace coating. Well, that's exactly what this is going to wind up being. See, what I want is I want this heavy grain, which is the match to this, inside. And that's what I'm telling you about a book match. Sometimes you can get it, sometimes you can't. So we're just going to have to every time I turn that board, it just disappears on me. Can y'all see that on camera? That's a perfect book match. But you see how much curl you're showing here and not here? That's that holographic thing. That's that. Then you see out here, it's really nice curl. So you think, well, maybe I can flip it. Nope. Goes away again. Fun, huh? Now this would be ideally the match. And that's because this face came right off of this face. In other words, this board, when it was in the tree, was just like this. Or the other way, either way, but it's the same face. All right, I'm going to play with this a little bit more and a few more pieces and get this thing right. Is that about the best we've come up with? I think so too. What y'all think? Bob, I don't even want to hear from you. You're colorblind. It isn't perfect. This could be the best we're going to get. All right, this is going to be the opening, that the piece that the drawer front's going to come out of. Now it's a little lighter because I haven't wiped it quite as many times with dye. But do we want it this way? Which way is the figure more prevalent? Yes, what?
That way.
All right, now, when I think about something here now, when we've got a molding that's going to come right along this edge, and this will be our belt line. Okay, so we've got a lot heavy dominant figure there, but is the figure showing up?
Yes.
And then we're going to have our door tops in here. We all think, huh? Yeah, I know. I tell you, I like it. I like that figure raining down. How wide is this piece? I think we need 6 3/4, and I'm 7 1/2. So I'm gonna take some of that bottom off. I don't think the back's any better. Let's look. Hey, y'all remember that bench we just sanded and cleaned up? Well, there you go. But Tommy McDonald, I'm protecting your shirt, big boy. I just want you to notice that. All right, now on the back of this, we got a completely different figure. And we got a lot of flippy flop. Ooh, I like this side better. The reason I like this side better is that it's got, you don't see this? It's got the curl coming this way and going that way. So you always check these things out. All right. This way?
Yeah.
Well, I ain't even flipped it. How do you know? Yeah, this way. All right. Got that. Don't go nowhere. All right, guys, what do y'all think? I think what do you think, Chris? This bottom right here for the crown. Huh? Definitely. I don't know, that looks pretty good. Yeah, this is going to get cut at 3 inches right here. This is going to get cut off. So you're saying do it this way. Y'all heard her, guys. I'm right. You don't hear that very often around here. All right. Now I got one last piece. All right, for the base, there's that piece, because I got a bad end. It's going to be one side or the other. All right, or I got this piece. Like that. Y'all agreeing? Now guys, let me ask y'all a question. Where else you going to see this kind of craziness? What if I turn this one this way? Is that bottom? So now this is only 4 1/2 inches, so it's going to be like here. Yeah. This part and this up. All right. Now what we're going to do, guys, is the off-fall from this, we'll make our little, we got a little 1-inch piece goes here, and one at the top, and then we've got one down here in the bottom that the base will actually go over top of. So once we get that sorted out, we'll check them. But this gives me where I can cut my pieces out and mark them and know what's going to be what. But I hope you learned something from this. Tiger maple isn't just grab a bunch of boards and start slapping it together. And a lot of your figured woods isn't. So I hope you learned something with this. This is the main reason I wanted to do this out of tiger maple. I wanted you to see the difference and be aware of that holographic effect. Because I'm going to tell you something, that's the difference in your furniture being art and just being furniture. You know, I had a guy kind of chastise me pretty good. He said there wasn't nothing art about woodworking. And I told y'all this before, some of you, and I looked at him and I said, well, maybe yours isn't. But that's exactly the way I perceive it. And making sure you've got all of this right makes a big difference. And the other thing I want you to get is that this case is built out of poplar, of course, then the exterior is out of tiger maple. Well, that allows me to put more of my effort and my money into the face material. And that just, because this is a tiger maple corner cover. The inside and the back, it doesn't matter. And when you go through and you know you're willing to go the money to get really nice special stuff and take your time in matching up your grains and whatever, guys, it makes all the difference in the world in what it looks like. And again, it's one of those things, instead of, yeah, that's nice, and oh my goodness, we like him, oh my goodness. I like it when a client comes in and looks at a piece we just finished. I like to see him sit there and go, I like that. I like that a lot. All right, we're going to do some whacking. One last thing before she turns that camera on. I want you to notice something. This is a water-based dye. I put dye on both sides no matter what. And the reason I did that is I'm actually putting water on raw wood. And if I do both sides, I'm going to keep it equal and keep it balanced. Okay? Now I got to let it all dry. All right, guys, it's time to start cutting some of this stuff into the pieces and parts that we need. Now, one of the things I'm not sure of, because all we've done is straight line this. And in the cases, and in the pieces, the wide 10-inch pieces we're going to be using to get our side, face frame, and door side out of, I'm kind of really pushing the limits on that, because when I cut this, and we've all seen this on a table saw, you see it open up, or you see it try to pinch. When you cut a piece of wood, a wide piece and the smaller pieces, you're always going to be releasing stress. Always. Some has more than others. And at this moment, I do not know how this material is going to behave. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out and cut the crown. Now the reason for that is it's a long piece, kind of wide, and I'm going to see how well it's going to perform. And then I'm going to cut the base out. Same thing, I want to see if I've got a lot of hidden stress in here and if I'm going to have issues. Because if I am, then when I get to those two 10-inch pieces, I may only be able to get the side and the face. If it's not moving around on me a lot, then I can probably get the door side. I fully anticipate a little bit of movement. I never take if I need to particularly narrow pieces. If I need something, you know, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, even 3, I'm going to cut it wide, then come back and trim it, because there's that stress. And sometimes it can be significant. I've taken a long board and cut a 1.5 inch piece off of it, and what I got is a piece of spaghetti. It just, you know, looks awful. So my crown, I need it to be 3 inches, finished dimension. So I'm going to cut it about 3 3/8, just to be sure I've got enough to get it. Let's see what happens. Wow. That's stable. That's nice. Now I've got a little bit of deflection. I think you can see it right here. It's probably not quite a 1/16 of a gap up there, but I'm straight all the way down through here, and that means that end just kind of opened a little bit. That's normal. You know, I mean, and you know, different woods. And I'll tell you what, if you get one that's really going crazy, odds are it's what's called case hardened. And case hardened means when you bake a loaf, let's say you bake a pie or a loaf of bread or a cake. The bread and the cake's kind of the better analogy. The crust on the bread, it gets done or gets hard, and then the inside never really gets done. Well, you know, you got to realize kiln drying wood is just like baking bread. And the problem is it's hard to get the inside as dry as the outside. Now, a thing that really helps is that you skim plane your wood. You knock the crust off. Take that same loaf of bread and knock the crust off and put it out there and just let it sit around, and that piece of bread will dry thoroughly and evenly throughout. Of course, the thicker the wood, the more difficult. So skim planing your wood and letting it acclimate is a smart thing. All right, guys, we ripped this crown. We didn't get got a little bit, but not much. But what I'm looking at is this piece that came off of it. We got to do, we got to make the moldings for the belt. You know, the molding goes where the two cases come together. And I'm looking at that edge grain. I'm thinking that might be pretty nice for that. That's what I was checking. But what I want to do now is I check this, and it's doing good. It's pretty straight. So I feel pretty confident that we're okay. There's a slight amount of deflection there, but that's all right. Now remember, when we were glue lining, I told you that I mentioned something about, you know, the measure twice, cut once, and I'm kind of more of a measure twice and cut it 2 or 3 times. Well, here's what I want to show you. This is pretty straight. But when you break a piece off of a wide piece like this, like I told you, sometimes they can go crazy, and sometimes you have to go back and completely re-straight line to get it. This is not the case. This has actually got just a little slight wane to it, and I mean just a little bit, meaning that it's, well, this board is just a little bit arced this way. And we talked about that point-to-point thing. In other words, each end of it. So what I've got a slight, this piece, you can't even see it. This is just slightly elevated in the center. So what I want to do is I just want to skim this edge. Then I'm going to come back and do the other edge. And it'll be dead straight. Now let's take a look at that. I'm going to move that's why I cut it wide. I'm going to move it over just not even a 1/16. and run it. Now one of the things, the other thing that cutting your pieces off a little wide and then being able to come back through the table saw with that light skim and keep a good fluid motion going through so that you don't wind up pausing. Because in the case just like this maple, you'll notice there's a few burns in here, nothing serious, but it's just a pause. Maple, cherry, they burn very easily. And it's just where the wood gets a little bit warm from that blade and the mineral comes up and you have a burn. So here's the way I like to do it. I want a really nice, consistent feed and a smooth pass through. And again, I'm using a 40-tooth combo. This is one of those Freud Fusion, super nice blade. And it gives a really nice cut. Now this piece is ready to make the crown out of. Now this piece will either become molding or something. Now we have our base. And on our storyboard, our base is 4.5 inches. So I think I'm going to hit this about, I don't know, since it's doing so nice, I'm going to hit it about 4 5/8. All right, I got the exact same thing, just a little bit, not much at all. So again, I'm going to skim it again, and then I'm going to come back and I'll be back to my base. Now one of the things I'll do is I'll go along the side of this fence and look and see where it's at. I think it actually moved in this piece, because I think this piece looks pretty good. So I'm actually going to skim this from the same side and then hit the other side. Okay, that's my base. And this will also become molding or whatever it is I need. To see when I do the crown, we got to come up with this piece that's going to set on top and go back. Now this that'll set on top, and we're actually just going to make the crown set down on top of the case. And then we'll just put a couple screws up on top. We're not going to mount it to the face of the cabinet. And this is 4 inches, and it's only overhanging about 1 inch. So I want it back just a little further. So neither one of these pieces are giving me that, so we'll have to look at that when we get to it. Now comes the biggie. We got to see if we can get a set of doors and the side cases. So I'm at 10 inches, and I need 9 inches total finished. All right, and I actually, the truth of the matter is, the side that's going to be the door, it needs to be a little bit wider than 2 1/4, because when we run it, when we do our stick and coat, we might get a little chip out or something, and we want to be able to skim that back. So the side on this is 4 1/2 inches. So I'm going to cut it. I'm going to get real brave here. And I think I'm going to cut it at not quite 4 5/8. Y'all hold your breath. Let me make sure this is the narrowest one. Yep. I got a little bit, but not much. All right, this side has been this side is straight. You can see that little bit of wane I was telling you about. It's not much, but it's there. So this is the side I want to the fence. So I'm going to skim it, then I'll skim the other side. Now, you know, if I would have had an issue and I'd have had to drop that side down to even say 4 3/8, it wouldn't have been a big deal, because our case is narrower than our face is going to be. You see that burn? Did you see that slight pause? It don't take much. All right, I got to get 4 1/2, and I'm good because I'm at 5 3/8. So I'm gonna cut it at 2 1/2 inches and 2. Actually, I'm thinking probably need to true that up first, just to be. Let me see which side. Yeah, when it moved in this side, because this line is good. This side is straight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit that. I need 2 1/4. See, what I'm thinking is I don't want to separate this too much in the middle. because then my figure is not going to line up when we wrap it on the case. All right, I'm going to go 2 3/8. All right, what I've now got this one at 2 1/2, and I've got my side laid out. So the other one's about 11 inches, so I know that I'm going to get it. So I've got my side, my face, and my door all coming together really nice. Well, guys, I got lucky on that 10-inch one. This is the 11-inch one. We got a little bit more room, so I allowed a little bit more. And it's a good thing. See where she opened? Can you get that? See there? So I got a pretty good little wane in that one. It happened, man. That's woodworking. Hey, I'm gonna tell you. See what we got? And I'll tell you what, that's not even super bad. Man, I've seen them go like this. So, which side moved? Well, this side isn't too bad right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sneaking on this thing. Neither one of these sides show to be too bad, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the one I just cut, and I'm going to run it just like I got it laying. Skim it. Just a little bit. Now I could pass it over joiner, but I think I'm okay here. All right, now I can tell that this piece is straight by how nice and straight it's running against the fence. So I'm going to use it to get this one back straight. See the wane? See it right here? Now we're back cooking. This side is still off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skim this side now and get it straight. The whole gist of this is, you know, when you cut these wide boards, you're going to have to go back and work them a little bit. So make sure you got room to do it. I didn't take enough. All right, now I need that door and the face frame, but I'm 6 inches here. If you look carefully, right here on this side, the figure, which is actually the middle of this board, the figure is a little bit less than out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same 2.5 off out here. because this is my highest figure, the side. Now that did pretty nice. I got very, very little deflection, but a little, so I'm going to trim it up just to be done. Now I got to get this one down and straight to 2 1/4. So I'm going to rip it at 2 3/8, but I'm going to take it out of this part. Now that's going to put my more figure, and it's not going to give me a dead match. But this center's a little bit dead. It don't really have that figure barking really showing up. So when we look at this, you know, even though those sides are there and they're part of the face, the very face of it is going to be our dominant point. And you know the rule, always put your best face forward. Has some sawdust down in there. Yeah, she's coming up nice. It'll work. This should be my door. Now, the next step in this is we have to cut our top and bottom out of these and start making mortises. Okay guys, that about does it for this week. Now I realize in this episode we did a lot of chatoyant stuff, and you watched me rip on a table saw a lot. But you know, getting this stuff straight and getting this thing right is the whole key. And Tiger Maple can give you a fit, as you well seen. So now you know. And you know what you got to do. Get you some dies, start laying the stuff out. You know, get somebody to help you to be able to see it, which way the figure's looking the best and shows up the best. It's important. And most any good curly wood that you see that's got a lot, you hold it up. You know, you put a little, you see all that iridescence going on. Yeah, you better pay attention to it. Guys, I'll catch you next week.